Hi everyone, this is Zoe B from Simple Life Strategies, and I'm very excited to be with you here today to take you through a webinar in relation to my chapter from the Join a New Year's Revolution ebook. And that chapter it's number 24, An Easy Guide to Making Decisions. If you haven't already had a look at that, do take a look when you get a second. So before we get started today, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Zoe B, as I just mentioned, and this is actually what I look like. I'm a leading Sydney life coach. I'm trained in neuro-linguistic programming. I'm a master practitioner. I'm trained in coaching, psychology, neuroscience, among many, many other disciplines. And I actually offer free tips on successful living to over 10,000 people globally each month. And you can actually sign up to that if you're interested at simplelifestrategies.com. I co-founded an ad agency when I was 27 years old and worked with many global clients including Sony, Unilever, Hyundai, Revlon, Telstra, Woolworths, among many, many other big blue chip clients. And my coaching work has featured across many global publications including Mind Food, Mind Body Green, Life Hack, Life Hacker, My Supercharged Life, Tiny Buddha, amongst others. Now, I'm really passionate about helping people to fall in love with life. So I don't believe that life is supposed to be stressful. I believe that life is supposed to be fun. And what I love to do is provide people with simple techniques and strategies that will help them to live a more successful, happier, and joyful life, because to me, that's what living is all about. So if you'd like to find out a little bit more about me, you can do so by my website, www.simplelifestrategies.com. Now, today we are talking about decision making, and if you've ever tried to make a decision, it's likely you may have ended up like this poor woman here, tearing your hair out. There's too many options, you don't know which way to turn, and your head is just a jumbled mess of confusion. And this is what I actually talk about in my chapter of the New Year's Revolution, as I mentioned before. And that's actually chapter 24, An Easy Guide to Making Decisions. So what we're going to talk about today is how indecision is affecting your physical health, because this is not just a mental issue, it does actually affect our bodies as well. And the two most important questions to ask when it comes to making decisions. We'll look at the gains and loss equation. I'll share with you a process to simplify complex decisions, and throughout all of this I'll actually also be taking you through an online demonstration of the decision grid technique, and this is the technique that I feature in my chapter from the ebook. So to get started, let's take a look at how indecision is affecting your physical health. Now, you might not be aware of it, but when you try to make a decision, and especially if you're getting stuck in overanalysis because you've got so many different options popping up in your mind that you're almost going on a loop in terms of going over and over the same information over and over again, what's actually happening is you're utilizing a really large amount of energy. And what this can do is it can actually result in exhaustion, because we're not supposed to use that amount of energy when it comes to just making everyday decisions. And if we do get stuck, especially in this cycle of indecision where we're going over the same decision day after day, hour after hour, and it's drawing on our valuable resources, then what will happen is we will actually be impacted at the physical level. And as I said, this can result in exhaustion, and you'll end up like this poor woman here, head on the laptop, completely zonked out because she's been spending way too much time overthinking what could be a very simple decision. So I obviously want you to avoid that, but I do need you to be aware that is a realistic scenario for you if you do struggle with decision making. But we will go through some proven techniques today that will help you overcome that. And what you'll need for this webinar, especially if you're going to go through the decision grid technique now with your own decision, and you want to actually have a go at using that technique live to solve your decision, then what you'll need to do is decide what your decision is going to be first up. So you need something that you haven't actually made a decision on yet. And then you'll also need a pen, a couple of sheets of paper, and a ruler. That's optional. And what you'll need to do is just spend a few moments now thinking about what decision you'd like to focus on, and include all of the options that are concerned with that decision. So feel free to just hit pause on the webinar now if you do need to spend a little bit of time on this, and then come back to me once you're ready. Great. Once you're ready, what you'll need to do is note down your decision for me and make sure that you do include all of those options. So for me, my example with this webinar today is to buy a car. So I've got two options there. I can either buy the car or I can not buy the car. So if you can just make a list of your options now in relation to your decision, then that would be great. And the first step is, what will you gain by going ahead with your decision? So for this, you need to select your first option. And what's really important is to get really clear about what the gains are. And if you end up looking a little bit like this lady here, then we might be in a little bit of trouble, because what should happen is you should be able to rattle off 4 or 5 different reasons why this particular option is going to be good for you, and what the gains are. And if you can't do that, then that's probably why you've ground to a halt with this particular decision. So have a think about what you're likely to gain from this particular option in regards to your decision. And for me, when I'm thinking about buying a car, what will I gain if I were to do that? Well, I'll gain freedom, I'll gain the independence that will allow me to just jump in my car whenever I like and go off wherever I want to, whatever destination suits me at that particular time. I'll also gain time, because I won't need to wait around for other people to pick me up, or to wait around for buses or trains or other forms of transport. So what I'm going to do now is, and what I'd like you to do at the same time, is actually note down all of these factors into a table. Now I'm just going to do this in Excel so that I can show you online, but you can do this by hand if you like, or you can do it on your computer at the same time. And what we need to do is just create a very basic table and add in our first option. So for me, that's to buy a car. And you can spend a bit of time adding some color if you're visual like me. Underneath that option, what I want you to do is add in the word gains. And then what we need to do is list what those gains are. So for me, it was freedom, independence, and time. Great. Just make sure you save that if you're doing it on a computer. Oops. To my car. Wonderful. Now once you've done that, we are ready to go on to step 2, which is where we look at what you will lose by going ahead with this particular option. And again, if you end up looking like this lovely lady here, then we need to spend a little bit more time getting clear about what those factors are, because unless you're aware of what you're going to lose with it when making a decision, it will ground you to a halt and you won't be able to move forward. So what will I lose if I were to buy a car? Well, I'll lose money up front. I'll need a lump sum of cash to purchase the vehicle. I'll lose money ongoing, because I'll need to pay for things each year like insurance and registration. And I actually like reading when I'm on public transport, especially on the train, so I won't be able to do that if I'm driving a car. So that's something else that I'll lose. So what you need to do now is add in what you will lose underneath your gains in your table. So for me, I will lose money up front. I'll lose money ongoing. and I'll lose the ability to read on the train. So just add in your own items there in terms of what you'll lose if you were to take that particular option. And once you've done that, what we need to do next is repeat the process for all of our other options in relation to that decision. So I've only got one other option, which is option 2, to not buy a car. So I'll just make it look beautiful, of course, and then I'll go through the same process again, where I'll add in my gains and what I'm set to lose. So what I might gain by not buying a car is money, because I will save the amount of money that I would have spent on purchasing the car. The other thing that I'll gain is I'll be able to read on public transport. If I look at what I might lose, I've got independence, freedom, time. I might also lose the comfort of traveling in a car. Plus, I might lose the ability to transport large items, which I would be able to do with a car. And I might also lose the spontaneity of being able to just go wherever I want, whenever I want. So I've got a great list there of what I will gain and what I will lose across both options. Now, once you've done that, what we need to then do is ensure that whatever we will lose will not outweigh what we will gain, because that again will result in you getting stuck, and this may well be the reason as to why you've not been able to make this decision. So what you gain must outweigh what you lose in order to move forward. And what happens is you actually end up in this space where we've got all these different factors across these different options, and it's feeling rather complicated now. So we need to make sense out of that information, and we need to streamline that thinking in a strategic way that will allow us to make a really easy decision. So the way that we do that is by asking this question: what is the most important factor to you? And it's really important for us to prioritize and to actually get out of our heads and onto paper. And that's why we actually create these tables, because we don't want all of those thoughts flying around in our brains, unorganized, uncategorized. That's when we get into this state of confusion. And what we need to do is streamline that information through these strategic processes. So let's go back to our table, and we will draw a second table, which is our prioritized table. And I'll just merge those cells quickly. And of course, add a bit of color. And what we're going to do now is actually start to prioritize the different options, or the different factors, sorry. So when I look at this table, what I need to do now is, irrespective of these options, I need to look at these factors in the white sections, and I need to think about which of these factors is the most important to me right now. And that will help me to prioritize. And what I'll do is I'll add them into this prioritized table below. So for me, out of all of these factors across both options, and I'm not thinking about the options here, I'm just looking at the factors. Out of all of these, for me, the most important for me, I would say, is time. Time is precious. Independence is second for me, followed by freedom, followed by money up front, followed by comfort, followed by money, ongoing, followed by transporting large items, followed by spontaneity, and lastly in there I've got reading on the train. So what I've done is I've gone through all of those factors and I've streamlined them into a list with the number one priority at the top and the least priority at the bottom. So now what I need to do is look at the top 2 items on my list. You can extend that to 3 if you like. I tend to look at the top 2. And for me, those are time and independence. Now what you need to do is find where those 2 factors feature as a gain within your first table. So for me, I can see that they feature as a gain within the option to buy a car. So what that's doing is that's indicating that I should go ahead and buy the car because the 2 most important factors for me feature as a gain with regards to that option. So if you look at the other issues that are not so important for me, they're not featured here. So they're less relevant, and that's what we're doing here is we're actually identifying what is the most relevant, what is the highest priority, and then using that information to make the decision. So there we have it. That is my decision. I should go ahead and buy the car because independence and freedom are the most important factors for me at this point in time. So I do hope that you are able to use this technique moving forward and you can get some really strong results because I designed it so that it would be very strategic yet very simple. I didn't want it to be complicated, and I hope that you make the most of that tool there because it literally does actually spit out your decision for you. It removes all of the confusion and all of the over-analysis and allows you to streamline that information out of your head into a format that's very simplistic and easy to follow and one that gives you a solid decision at the end of it. So please enjoy using that process. Now, before I sign off today, I would like to mention a special offer, and that's a free 20-minute Skype coaching session with myself. If that's something you're interested in pursuing further, this is what you'd get. You get a free 360-degree assessment of your life. And that's actually a strategic process that I've developed that it's a really comprehensive system that goes through all aspects of your life and identifies which core areas of improvement we should look to work upon to ensure that you're living a really happy and successful life. And that would then result in me recommending a bespoke life coaching plan. So that's a plan that's specifically for you and your needs. You'll also have the opportunity in that session to ask me any questions that you like, whether that be with regards to the decision grid technique that we went through today, or any other questions about your life, any challenges, any struggles, any issues that you've got that you'd like me to answer. I'd be more than happy to answer those for you in that session. And I'll also give you access to a limited offer coaching session. So if that is something that you're interested in, then please do book now by sending me an email to zoe@simplelifestrategies.com. The offer actually ends within about 4 weeks' time on the 23rd of March, and places are strictly limited. So if it is something that you're interested in, I would advise you to book in as soon as you can before those slots fill up. So that concludes it from me today. I hope you've got a lot out of this decision-making webinar, and I hope you do go ahead and use the decision grid technique to help you in future. And if you want to find out a little bit more about me, you can visit my website, simplelifestrategies.com, or you can go to the Join a New Year's Revolution website, which is joinanewyearsrevolution.com, where you can join the online community forum and ask me any questions you like there, and I'd be happy to answer those. So thanks again for viewing, for listening, guys, and have a wonderful day, and I hope to work with you and perhaps coach with you soon. Thanks.